That makes it 6:25. Well, Harish, thank you. I mean, the friend, close friend for quite some time, and such a pleasure that, and thank you for inviting me. And of course, it's nice to meet Ambassador Mishra here. We keep on meeting each other. And thank you, others. In fact, today has been a very hectic day. Morning, we started uh, at some sort of cyber conference, but at 3 p.m. we had a webinar with 50 airports from all over the world, and we showcased an airport called CIL, Kochi International Airport, which is they call it 24/7 solar. And I was told that if you put all those 17,000 airports, heliports, airstrips together, they can afford 40 gigawatt of solar. And as against that, we don't have even 10% today. So what International Solar Alliance proposed that if we could aggregate the demand of all these airports all over the world and put in a solarization program, not only the cost will come down, but the time overrun can be cut down. And that is nothing new to the Solar Alliance. We did it for the aggregation of demand for solar pumps. Right now, we're aggregating the demand for 47 million home lighting systems. We propose to aggregate demand for 5 million solar cookers. And we propose to have demand for 1 billion street lights. Everybody needs street lights, but with 1 billion street lights, the industry tells us that they can cut down the cost by 60%. Now, why am I telling all that? It's not that ISA is an action-oriented organization and we do more work and talk less. That's not the point that I'm trying to drive home. I'm trying to drive home that if we are talking about, SDG goals, it is not really changing the terminology from, MDG to SDG. And some people now suggest that it should always be SDG over SDA. It's not merely goal, but what action has been taken. So as a percentage, if we can get an index, that will be a better, purpose serving mechanism. But behind SDGs, we are talking about partnerships for lives. We're talking partnerships for livelihood and of growth, of course, and is a green growth. Now, if that is the objective, and in fact, Selco Foundation has been one of the pioneers in this area, I don't hesitate to say that for the last 10, 15 years since I knew them, the type of things that try to do, going to the grassroots in a way which is sustainable, that itself is something which can be done. But then if you look at globally, what are the statistics that we have? In a world of 7 billion plus, we have 2 billion women who still today don't have access to clean energy. And you don't find it in newspapers, you don't find it in TVs. It's not a big issue. Now, that is the problem in 21st century in a 78 trillion economy of $78 trillion. We don't talk about 2 billion people who have no access to clean energy. Forget that. Look at the World Bank, the beautiful report they brought in saying that, fantastic, we have promised everything to everyone, saying that by 2030, the entire world is going to be golden. Everybody have energy access, everybody is happy. But they find that do whatever you want, the way you are doing. In 2030, you will still have 600 million people without access to electricity. And what a basic need. And we are also told that today 3 billion people have no access to clean drinking water. And if you just go to this campus of National Institute of Solar Energy, which is a national institute in India, you will find all these problems can be addressed. They have all simple solar affordable technologies which can meet all these ends. You can get water and clean water, and it's a business proposition. In fact, now 47 projects that we have given to small island and LDCs, quite a few countries are going for these business models where you can address these issues of lighting, issues of energy access, issues of small industries, as well as drinking water issues. Now, what holds us back? And if we're talking about lives and livelihood and growth and SDGs, and the whole world is behind it, talk of UN, talk of ISA, talk of IRENA, talk of REN 21, and talk of all the partners that we all have. Like ISA has 40 global partners. We have corporate partners, we have everything. Now, despite all our efforts, still the other day, the Fijian Prime Minister told, look, for you, global warming, which is a very hot topic, is a concept. It's a good concept for conferences, for workshops, for debate, for writing. But for us, it's a reality. Every morning we get up, we see a bit of global warming. The island has sunk a little more. And that and think of thousands of islands, thousands of cities which are coastal, thousands of and about that simple concept of not concept is the reality of something called golden toad. Golden toad was, I think, last it was seen sometime in '87 uh, in the Latin American, areas. And then since then it disappeared for all time to come. I'm told it was the first amphibian which died because of what reason, but connected to the global warming. And that set the first trend of, disappearance. We're talking about a mass extinction of, now such serious themes and SDGs, if we try to combine, I fully view that we have to do a lot of things that and I'm proud to say the Selco Foundation, the tradition they started, not that I come from that state, Karnataka, where they started and did a lot of work, but we have to take technology to that grassroots level. We have to really bring in ability so that they can afford. And these things cannot be kept separate from the mass. It cannot be an elite subject just for discussion, for conferences, for workshops, for reports, and for consultancy types. It has to be translated into action. And the market that I talked about, the 2 billion women, the 700 million people without access to energy, of 3 billion people without access to clean energy, water, this has to be converted to a market through technology. If we cannot reach them, they can reach us. If the market can't reach them, they must reach the market. And that is where lies what the SDGs aim at, whether it's a goal or achievement, or it should be converted, a goal over action, a ratio to be expressed for countries, for the globe as a whole, for the UN as a whole. And having said this, I once again, I'm very thankful to, to you for having given this opportunity to Aisha. And as I told, we have got 80 countries now who are signatories of the International Solar Alliance. And out of 88, 70 are actually members. The parliament is approved. We have got a very good governance structure. India is president, France is co-president. We have 2 vice presidents from each region, the UK and the Netherlands from Europe, the Cuba and the Guyana from the Latin American side. We have Nauru and Fiji from Asia Pacific, and we have Niger and Mauritius from Africa. And our assembly has met 3 times, but this time in the assembly, 2 beautiful things happened, which is unique. And that is what the UN Secretary General said, that Aisha is leading the 21st century ideas. Now, one was, of course, the World Solar Bank. Some people say, why do you need a solar bank? Why do you need another bank? The world is full of banks. Now, if the world is full of banks, then why these 2 billion women? Why these 700 million people? Why these 3 billion, people without access to water? Well, they say because they can't make bankable projects. Now, if they can't make bankable projects since the First World War, Second World War, and then there is something wrong, you need a bank which can actually make projects for them instead of returning everything saying that it's not bankable. You need a bank which can make projects. You need a bank which can reach out. Out of the $140 billion that comes for solar, it goes to 24 countries. Majority of countries have no access to capital. So you need a bank which understands solar. You need a bank which understands these communities and people so that the capital is made green, affordable, and sustainable. And the other beautiful idea that ISA Assembly came up with is one sun, one world, one grid. Well, it's not a necklace around the at the globe or the earth. It has to be a bent line like the international date line. It has to connect dots like cities. It has to connect points of production and supply of maximization and minimization of consumption. And it has to connect the hotspots where you can actually hybridize not only solar with solar derivatives. And in ISA, we have 2 types of energy. One is called solar, the other is solar derivatives. Now, if you can combine the globe and see the transmission cost you can recover over a period of time, and the transmission cost is less than storage cost, then you can use geography as a storage, as a battery. And that is what this big idea is all about. And if you think, even I also thought, a globe around like one sun, one world, one grid was impossible. Until I talked to a company in Australia called Sun Cable. Sun Cable right now is proposing to put 3,500 kilometers of transmission line connecting the Australian deserts to Singapore and Indonesia. And maybe the 30,000 megawatt solar park, which Honorable Prime Minister Modi announced just a few days back, along with 300 million liters of drinking water for Gujarat. Now, from 30,000 megawatt from the coast of Gujarat can go into the countries who need most. Now, what is the economics of this Australian company which is working on 3,500 kilometers of transmission lines to be completed by 2027? It is simple. They studied the tariff in Singapore, and they studied the tariff of solar in the Australian deserts, and then the transmission cost. They find that even if they add the transmission cost into the production cost of solar in the Australian deserts, still they have a big savings. And Singapore will be too happy to buy energy cheaper. And they're routing through Indonesia so that they can create other markets. Now, why I'm giving this example is not to tell that, just to dive on the point that what seems to be impossible, to have a one sun, one world, one grid, is possible. Technology is there. And we're talking about 26,000 kilometers or 40,000 kilometers. And already you are having such projects. And of course, cable lines are there. With this, I would just to conclude that, these big ideas of World Solar Bank, of one sun, one world, one grid, and the big issues of 2 billion women, 7 million people without no access, 3 billion people without access to clean energy, the linkage between these comes through the SDGs. And the suggestion that we have a ratio of SDG over SDA is a good idea. Thank you all.